Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf and to my looking back at the reading year 2023. I know the year isn't yet over entirely. There's still 7 more days to go. It's only the 24th. And by the way, for those of you who celebrate, Merry Christmas. I'm not a huge Christmas person, but I do enjoy the fact that I have time off work. 2 weeks. Can you believe it? So that is always nice. And the shops are closed here in Germany, also tomorrow and Tuesday. So it's really, really quiet. And most people are, with family. And so I'm just sitting there. I have enough food. I have cake and I have books. So it's going to be a great couple of days. Anyway, what I wanted to do today is look back at my reading year of 2023. Just to see, because the next video will obviously be plans for 2024, but I want to see, how did I do, what worked, what didn't work. So a couple of numbers, because I'm a nerd, and I have my the previous the old goals because then I have to have something to revisit here on my screen. So you will excuse me if I look at the screen at certain points in time, but I will delete it because of the light glare. Anyway, so the first thing is, these general things. The Goodreads challenge. I wanted to be more conscious. Again, it's not for the first time this year about diversifying my reading. So PoC-authors, translated literature. I also had the urge for nonfiction at times in this year. So let's see. I have always set my Goodreads goal at 177. People ask me, what is this for weird number? It's my birthday. So I just put this number in. I always read between 150 and 200 books. So it's not really a goal. It's just a number that I like. And I think that I will reach that. I have 4 books to go at the moment today, and I'm in the middle of more than 4. So I think I will probably do 177 or 8 or 9. But again, it's not really an important number. I also have my tracker, my bullet journal, where I track fiction and nonfiction. You can see nonfiction is the yellow. It's about a third, I would say, a good third. And the translated fiction is the purple stuff. Purple squares. And I think in the middle of the year, I kind of lost the drive to look for translated fiction. So it's not as good as I would have liked. It's about 10%, 15%, maybe something between 15 and 20%. But that's, yeah. But still, it's good for me. It worked to be aware and also to track it with the colors so that I'm visually aware of that. Then I had plans and projects, and the biggest one, of course, is the 1001 books by women that I want to read before I die project. I made my own list. I will leave a link to the Goodreads shelves down below. There's a shelf with the book total, then a shelf with the to be read and the ones that I already read. So you can go have a look. And I read 60 books this year from that challenge. And because Lori from It's Lori told me that it would be a good idea to have as a number 501 and 500. So 501 to read and 500 read. That's what I aimed for, and that's what I achieved. So that is good. I will continue that challenge next year with a little twist. I will talk about that in the plans video. Then I have the participation in the book Naturalist book club. That is a book club that is run by Heidi from My Reading Life and Doris from All the Books, where they pick between 12 and 15 books. So it's 1 to 2 books a month. And they announce it for the whole year. And it's all about nature writing. It's fiction, heavily nonfiction, of course, but there's also fiction at times. And I try to read along as much as possible. And from the 12 books, I think I read 7 or 8. So that is, for me, is a pretty good average. And I will certainly continue to do that as well. I also had this a spotlight idea. I started the spotlight idea a couple of years back with author spotlight, so that I would focus on one author and read their whole backlist. And I did that together with Terry from Miss Terry Reads, and we read Louise Erdrich's work, which is, you shouldn't pick Joyce Carol Oates or something. It's not possible. But Louise Erdrich, that was possible. It took a little more than a year, but we did that. And then the next year I tried Susan Sontag on my own. That didn't work at all. And I switched this to country spotlight, Ireland. I'm doing this together with Kim from Middle of the Book March, and it's a very chill challenge. We just buddy read. We also read other stuff, but we try to regularly read Irish literature, so books by Irish authors, with a focus, because of my channel, on female authors. And I had a look, and I read 2, 4, 6, 8, about 10 or 11 authors, so a little less than 1 a month, and I think that is good. So I'm really happy with that. Then I do also participate in the BookTube Prize as, let me just get this glare, better, as a judge. And I did that last year. I think I skipped 1 round because I was so busy with work. It was not a good year work-wise, but we'll not get into that. But the other rounds I participated. And by the way, if you haven't signed up as a judge yet for 2024, please consider signing up. I will leave a link to Robert's call for judges video, in which he explains the details, ins and out, how it works. But basically, it starts in January when Robert compiles a list of books that are possibles, and then we choose 48 nonfiction, 48 fiction, and it's divided in groups. And if you would be willing to participate, especially in the beginning, we need a lot of judges. That means a commitment to read 6 books, because you don't commit for the whole prize. You can commit for the first round, and then for the third round, you can switch from fiction to nonfiction. But I particularly ask nonfiction readers, because we are always short of nonfiction judges. So please consider at least judging the first round. And like I said, links to his video where he explains everything in much more detail, I will leave down in the description. So I did that, and I will do that also next year, but that's something for the 2024 plans. I also did, again, the Women's Prize for Fiction. I read the whole long list. And I discovered a couple of really, really good books. Some of my favorite books of this year came from the long list, which is probably not a surprise. Bandit Queens by Perini Schroff. It's one of my favorite books of the year, probably. But it is a huge commitment to read those. I think it's 16 books in total on the long list, something like that. It's also a financial commitment because I have to buy most of the books because I don't have access to a library that carries a lot of English titles, especially not new ones. So I don't know what I will do next year, but I still have time to think about it for the for the next video. And there are 2 readathons that I always participate in, Victober and Nonfiction November. I did that this year, and not with, I mean, especially Victober, I think, yeah, I mean, I did some of the prompts, but it's always good for me to focus on Victorian literature because even though I like a lot of Victorian literature, I tend not to read it outside of Victober. So, and Nonfiction November is always fantastic for me because I love nonfiction anyway. So I think I read almost exclusively nonfiction in November with a couple of fiction books, buddy reads and something like that. And then I had 3 new projects for this year. That was the Global South project was the first one. I tried to focus on reading authors who come from the so-called Global South. I know there are other terms and there's discussion about it, but that's the term I will use. I'm not don't want to say third world and, Global South. We just go with that. It was too broad a project. I need projects that are more focused. So I will have to, I read, I think I read 10 books. Let me just check. 10 books or something. Yeah, 15. So a little more than one a month. But it's just too broad. I want to continue in a sort of a little tweaked way and give it more focus. The other thing was my classics project. I picked 12 classics and many of you read along. Thank you very much. And again, I have to say this was overambitious. One a month is just was too much for me, and I lost steam. In the beginning, it was okay, but I lost steam in the second half of the year. So I finished 10. And the last one, the 10th, I just finished yesterday. So I will again do that. I already made an announcement video. I will leave a link in the description with 6 books. So 1 book every 2 months. And I think this is more manageable, gives also you more time to read the books and read along, because that really helps me. If people read along, that definitely really helps me. So these 2 projects were not, an absolute success. And the last one was reading favorite presses, indie presses, and I picked Virago Press and Feminist Press. And I fell off the wagon with this one rather quickly. I did read books from both presses, but again, it was way too broad. I didn't want to commit to too much constraint about the reading, so this just didn't work. I did focus, or focus is the wrong word, but I did look more on which press, which publisher is the book that I want to read. And if you want to read books from the Global South or books that are, not the new hot releases, a lot of times you end up with indie presses. So there is it's not that I did not read indie presses at all. Like I said, 1 or 2 books, maybe a month. But as a project, I felt it just didn't work the way I structured it. So I will think about this and definitely do it differently. So overall, I had a normal reading year. My average on Goodreads, I rate books on Goodreads just for my own sake. I don't write reviews. It's just for me to keep track. And my average rating has been consistently 3.5 for the last 5 years or 6 years. So my reading years are always good, and there are exceptional books each year. I didn't DNF a lot this year. It's 3 books that I DNF'd. Also because I changed the way that I pick books. So a DNF is really a book that I was committed to reading and then abandoned halfway through or after a third or whatever. But I'm more I have more gatekeeping. So I download a Kindle sample of a book that I'm interested in. I read that. And if I think after those 10, 20 pages, nah, that's not really for me, I don't count it as a DNF because I didn't commit, to reading it. So that's why the number is fairly low. And I like it this way so that I'm not committing constantly to books that I then abandon. So that worked well. I still read male authors. Yes, I just don't talk about them on the channel, except for the one video that I also will make for this year, the best dudes. And it's about between 10 and 20% of my reading are books by male authors. So that's a good percentage for me, given the fact that my first 20 or 30 years of reading were like 95% male. So it's still, I think it's still a fair percentage. So overall, I'm happy with some of the goals. Others didn't work, but that's okay. I liked taking you along with me on this journey. I love getting recommendations. I read a couple of really great books that were recommended to me by you, my viewer. So that's always fantastic. And I will, the next 7 days, I will try to finish the books that I'm reading now because I want to start 2024 with a clean slate. That's something that I like. I don't like to carry books over. No, it's a new year, new reading. Yeah. Anyway, this was my looking back at 2023. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, leave me a comment if you are so inclined, and I will talk to you all soon in the next one.